Welcome to the California Arts Council's 2023 Impact Projects Overview presentation. I am Natalie Peoples, Program Specialist for the Impact Projects Program at the CAC. My pronouns are she, her. We would like to begin by carrying forward the California Arts Council practice of recognizing the original people and caretakers of these sacred lands within and throughout the region we now refer to as Sacramento, the location of the CAC offices, and the space from which we are offering you this workshop today. The California Arts Council stands in solidarity with all of California's Indigenous people. We acknowledge that our work takes place on the now occupied traditional lands of the Miwok, Maidu, and Nisenan people, who are the past, present, and future stewards of this place. We make this first step in our journey to develop relationships and cultural competencies to truly support Native sovereignty. Click the closed caption button within your Zoom or viewing platform and select Show Subtitle to get closed captions. We have a lot to cover in our time together. Here's a look at what we'll be presenting today. We just did our Land and Peoples Acknowledgement and Welcome and Introduction. We'll go over the CAC website and grant page, general eligibility for CAC programs, introduction to grant programs, application elements and how to apply, and additional applicant resources. You can find information about all of our programs on our website, arts.ca.gov, by clicking on the Grants tab. Funding opportunities are listed under the Grant Programs and Applications section. Once you reach the Grant Programs and Applications page, individual programs can be viewed. You can also view this training online. Each program has a landing page that contains a brief description of the program, contact information, links to download the guidelines and application instructions, and other information. Below lists the Arts Program Specialist or Grant Program Manager's name, and you can also find a link to email them directly. We also have a Grant Resources page where you can find additional information around fiscal sponsorship policy, in-kind matching information, online application login process, online application system registration information, both a PDF and a video covering the process, and our ranking guide. Each grant category has program-specific eligibility and project requirements, so make sure to review the guidelines carefully. But there are some general eligibility criteria to keep in mind. Applicants must be nonprofit organizations, units of municipal or county government, or eligible organizations with a California-based nonprofit fiscal sponsor. Units of government also include California Native or Indigenous tribal governments. All activities and organizations, including fiscal sponsors, must be based in California. All applicant organizations, including fiscal sponsors, must be able to demonstrate a 2-year history of arts programming and/or services in California. This group of grant programs are intended for organizational applicants. So some information about impact projects. This program supports collaborative projects that center artists and artistic practice in responding to issues experienced by historically and systemically under-resourced communities in California at this time, including but not limited to social, political, and economic inequalities. Impact Projects prioritizes local artists and forms of arts and cultural expression that are unique to and/or historically rooted in the specific communities to be served. The maximum request amount is $25,000 over a period of 1 year, and organizations do not have a total revenue restriction to apply. This grant does not require matching funds. The panel's rankings are based on the review criteria in the guidelines. All of our programs include equity and accessibility review criteria. The other review criteria are all program specific. There is language defining each criterion in the guidelines, as well as the applications and requirements that the panelists will use to assess each criterion. The first one is centering equity for an inclusive arts landscape. In this section, organizations will demonstrate understanding, capacity, and ongoing commitment to building equity across the arts through inclusive policies, practices, projects, partnerships, and leadership. Organizations will also demonstrate how they serve and prioritize communities with the highest levels of need, as indicated by the California Healthy Places Index, or HPI. What has inspired your organization to incorporate or evolve policies or programming that uses the arts as a tool to transform and/or express culture? Describe the approaches your organization has taken or will take to center, uplift, and involve historically underserved communities that fall within the lowest quartile of the California Healthy Places Index in your region. The term underserved communities refers to populations disproportionately impacted by systemic exclusion in policy settings or historical decision-making processes. Neighborhood by neighborhood, the HPI maps data on social conditions that drive health, like education, job opportunities, clean air, and water. This data is used by community leaders, policymakers, academics, and other stakeholders to compare the health and well-being of communities, identify health inequities, and quantify the factors that shape health. How does your organization represent and create equitable opportunities for historically excluded artists, cultural practitioners, or arts and cultural practices? Describe the actions you have taken to build trust and ongoing relationships with the identified communities, artists, and cultural practitioners. Address how you, A, plan to evaluate success for the proposal and what success will look like, and B, will listen and respond to the diverse needs of the communities and artists, cultural practitioners through the project. Our next criterion is program design and implementation. Indicates clear objectives that address a community identified need or opportunity and includes a realistic timeline of activities that support the realization of those objectives. The project budget is detailed, includes all expenses relevant to the stated project activities, and includes rates of pay that appropriately compensate the labor of all individuals working on the project. Provide a detailed description of your project's objectives, outlining how you will address a community-identified need or opportunity. Include a timeline of activities that support the realization of project objectives. Describe how your project is free to participants or free and/or affordable to audiences. Select the topics your project addresses: cultural and social justice, education, health and wellness, intergenerational learning, equity, accessibility, sustainability and environment, or other. Complete a 2-year budget snapshot table. Provide revenue and expense amounts. Address any significant changes in line items from one year to the next and explain anticipated surpluses or deficits. Complete a detailed project budget, including all expenses relevant to the stated project activities, and include rates of pay that appropriately compensate the labor of all individuals working on the project. Provide details for each line item to be funded by this grant. Our next criterion is community engagement and social impact. Demonstrates the ways in which the project will result in the healing, stabilizing, uplifting, and transforming of an identified community and their needs. The proposal centers community members' voices throughout the entirety of the project, including project development, implementation, and evaluation. The community actively participates in shaping the project outcomes, documentation strategies, and measures of success. Describe up to 4 historically and systemically under-resourced communities that will be most deeply impacted by this project. Describe how your project will address the healing, stabilizing, uplifting, and transforming of an identified community and their needs. Describe how you plan to center community members' voices throughout the entirety of the project, including project development, implementation, and evaluation. Describe how the community actively participates in shaping project outcomes, documentation strategies, and measures of success. Our next criterion is local artist support. Demonstrates the capacity to support deep collaboration between local artists and the community for the duration of the project. The artists leading the project identify as members of the community that will be engaged and have expertise in the forms of arts and cultural expression that are unique to and/or historically rooted in that community. Provide a written statement from the lead artist or artists describing their vision for the project and their connection to the community to be engaged. Describe how local artists will collaborate with the community for the duration of the project. Describe how the artists leading the project identify as members of the community that will be engaged and have expertise in the forms of arts and cultural expression that are unique to and/or historically rooted in that community. Provide brief biographies of all project artists, culture bearers, administrators, and other individuals to be compensated through this CAC grant award. Select the artistic discipline your project uses: folk and traditional arts, literary arts, media arts, interdisciplinary arts, performing arts, visual arts, or other. Provide at least 1, but no more than 3, work samples that best portray your organization and its work. These may include artistic work, press materials, flyers, brochures, programs, newsletters, audio, video, and other marketing pieces. Samples should have been created within the past 3 years and should be relevant to this grant opportunity. Our last criterion is accessibility and accommodations. Demonstrates that its programs, services, information, and facilities where funded activities are to take place, including online spaces, will be accessible for individuals with disabilities, including but not limited to individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind, have difficulty speaking, have a physical disability, visual disability, developmental disability, learning disability, mental illness, or chronic illness. Describe your organization's approach, including allocation of financial resources, to ensuring the accessibility of programs and services and inclusion of people with disabilities. Describe both physical and communication accessibility, including in-person and online activities. Describe how your organization offers people with disabilities a way to request an accommodation to access programs and services. Consider organizational personnel and any partnering organizations, as well as the participants and beneficiaries of arts programming and services, including creatives with disabilities and potential audience members in your response. Identify the primary individual who will be responsible for managing accessibility for your organization. This may be a program manager, accessibility coordinator, or other staff member of the applicant organization. Include their name, title, phone number, and email address in the fields provided. For step-by-step instructions on how to register your organization through our grants management system to apply, please view the 2023 grant applicant website and registration overview video that can be found on our grant resources page. All applicants will complete a budget snapshot table listing a minimum of 2 years of revenue and expense totals. Budget snapshot for the past 2 fiscal years, the most recent, should match this field in your application. Project budget snapshots are required for this grant. For the work samples section, you will want to make sure that artistic work samples are recent and relevant to your project proposal, clearly feature and/or identify lead artists, choose a medium that best fits your proposed project outcomes, and you're limited to 3 examples. Each type of work sample has instructions on length. Additional work samples or samples that exceed the requested length will not be considered by panelists. And finally, clearly label work and give the panelists any relevant contextual or medium information in the work samples notes field. Remember, work samples will not receive higher or lower ranks based on their production quality. For example, a video taken on your phone is great. It does not have to be overly produced. Our additional applicant resources can be found on the CAC Grant Resources webpage. We have prior applicant webinars and training recordings, our grant applicant FAQs, which CAC staff regularly updates, and we have virtual office hours. For further questions you may have, you're welcome to attend any of the following virtual office hours via Zoom for impact projects. Thursday, May 18th from noon to 1 p.m. Tuesday, May 23rd from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and Wednesday, May 31st from 11 a.m. to noon. So mark your calendars. The deadline for impact projects is June 6th at 11:59 p.m. No exceptions will be made. All application components must be uploaded and completed before then. We cannot accept any additional materials or information past the application deadline, so please plan ahead. We highly encourage you to review our extensive FAQ page for additional information. If you have a specific question that is not covered in the FAQs, feel free to contact me. I'm listed at the top here, Natalie Peoples. We strive to respond to all inquiries. However, due to the high number of inquiries we receive, we must respond in the order they are received. We highly encourage you to review all the resources on our site and reach out with questions early in the application period. We'll do our best to assist, but cannot guarantee assistance close to the application deadline. This concludes today's CAC presentation. Thank you for the work that each of you are doing, improving the lives of Californians in your communities through the arts. We look forward to continuing with you on this journey and seeing your application submissions. Thank you and be well.